Dawnflight, Revised Edition, Audiobook Edition 1.0, Copyright 2012 by Kim Headlee, narrated by Dorothy Dickson. Prologue. It was a wild night, the eve of Samhain. A biting gale roared down from the north, spitting snow. It tore through the trees like some mad thing, stripping away the last of the dead birch leaves and tangling in the pine boughs to make the trunks sway and groan. The snow and leaves whirled together in a frantic dance to the howls of the raging wind. But the ghostly music was not loud enough to compete with the screams of the woman in labour. Ogrivan MacGlinnis, chieftain of Clan Argyll of Caledon, paced the circular stone room next to the family's living quarters. The midwives had refused to let him be at his wife's side during her ordeal. As her cries sundered the night, his anger and frustration grew. He quickened his pace in a futile attempt to dispel the mounting tension. The room's only door creaked open. In raced a small child. Ogrivan scooped his 3-year-old stepson into his arms. The boy's eyes were wide with fear, and tear tracks stained his pale cheeks. He buried his head against Ogrivan's burly chest. "Papa, where's Mama? Wind, noisy." Despite his concern for his wife, her son made him smile. Petteway hadn't reached 2 summers when Ogrivan had defeated the boy's father in the Dúlan for the right to become Hymar's consort. Too young to remember his real father, Petteway had readily accepted Ogrivan, and in response, the chieftain had been pleased to treat the boy as a son of his flesh. He brushed away the tears on the lad's cheeks. "The bairn is coming, Petteway." "Bairn? Can I go see?" Ogrivan shook his head. "It's women's work, son. We men must wait until it's done." "When, Papa?" "Soon, I hope." Another scream ripped the night, longer and more shrill than the rest. Petteway squirmed. "Let me go!" He pummeled Ogrivan's chest with impotent little fists. "They're hurting her." He squatted to set the child down, but did not release his hold. "Your mama will be all right," he hoped. "My lord," came a tentative half-whisper from before him. Ogrivan glared at the door. A young servant stood just inside the room, eyes downcast, wringing her hands. He knew her. Kinda, who had lost her bairn and her husband 3 days earlier to the fever. He rose to his full height, holding Petteway. "Well?" "A girl, my lord. But there was too much blood. Chieftainess Hymar is..." The woman sucked in a breath. "My lord, she's dying." Ogrivan thrust the boy into Kinda's arms and strode down the hall. The birthing chamber was swarming with women. Their frantic activity reminded him of slaughter day at the chicken pens. He riveted his gaze to the still figure on the bed. No one dared stop him as he waded through them to kneel at Hymar's side. She was lying on her back, knees drawn up and apart, naked from her swollen waist down. Her breath came in ragged gasps. Agony etched its grim story across her lovely face. More than anything, Ogrivan wished he could wipe that pain away, and he despised his wretched powerlessness. Gently he gathered her into his arms, while one of the women replaced the crimson-stained bedclothes with fresh ones. He laid her down and pulled up the sleeping fur. Himar's lids fluttered open. Ogrivan. Her smile was as pale as her voice. My dearest love. A girl, child. Grimacing, she drew another gasping breath. To carry on. After me. Now. He picked up her hand and lightly ran his fingers along her forearm, over the pair of blue doves that was the mark of Clan Argyll. Nonsense, Himar, he protested quietly. You will get well. I'd see her, Ogrivan. The hag. There, by the fire. He saw only Kinda, cradling at her breast the wee pink creature that was his infant daughter. The baby fed greedily, obviously unaware of anything save her primal need. Petteway stood at Kinda's feet, gazing up at his half-sister in wide-eyed wonder. Ogrivan beckoned to Kinda. Slowly, to avoid disturbing the bairn, she approached the bed. Little Petteway marched straight to his mother's side. As Ogrivan drew the boy into the shelter of his arms, Petteway wriggled an arm free to reach for Himar's hand. Turning pain-hazed eyes upon him, Himar summoned a sad smile for her firstborn. Here is your hag, Himar, Ogrivan replied as Kinda bent down with the baby. What shall we name her? Himar's face melted into joy as she beheld her daughter. She is my rare song. Gian Umara. She raised her hand to touch the child. Gian Umara's tiny fist closed around her finger. Himar sighed, smiling, eyes transfixed upon the infant. Her chest did not rise again. All movement in the birthing chamber ceased. Silence descended. With a grief too heavy for words, Ogrivan bowed his head, pressing the limp hand of his beloved to his cheek. Petteway's soft whimpers drowned in the sleeping fur that covered his mother's chest. The storm battered the building's stone walls, screeching its rage at being denied entry. Terrified by the noise, the new chieftainess of Clan Argyll uttered a piercing wail